Hi guys, it has been a while. I feel like I haven't filmed in a really, really long time. So I am gonna hopefully start filming more again. The readathon was happening and I was like, I need to read, even though I didn't really that much. And then my friends were in town and so like I couldn't film, I couldn't even watch any videos this weekend. So I'm like super behind on everything. I'm hoping my mom is gonna come today, so we'll see what happens. But I thought I might as well do this wrap up for the TBR Takedown 3.5 and Genrethon. So I'm just gonna talk about them together. I might do individual book talks for some of these. They were all interesting. Actually, they were all really good, except for the one that I DNF'd. So the first book that I started on Friday for the TBR Takedown 3.5 was South of the Border, West of the Sun by Haruki Murakami, translated by Philip Gabriel. This was really, really good. Surprise, surprise. I read this super fast, so I don't have like a lot of memories of it, unfortunately. I think after reading this and after reading some of the other books, I've decided that I don't like speed reading. Like, I don't like reading books super, super fast. So I'm going to try, except for like Dewey's and, stuff like that, obviously. But I think I'm going to try to take a book and like divide the page count into 7 days and try to read each book in a week. I feel like that will increase my enjoyment of the book as opposed to like reading a book in a day. I just feel like I don't retain as much information. I'm not in the world for long enough, etc., etc. But anyways, this was a typical Haruki Murakami book. It kind of reminds me more of Norwegian Wood. There's no magical realism in it at all. We're following Hajime, or Hajime, I don't know how to pronounce his name, and he basically, when he's a young boy, falls in love with this girl named Shimamoto, but for whatever reason, their paths separate, and so he, she doesn't exist for him anymore, and so he moves on, and then at the point that this book is taking place, he's married to a woman named, I think, Yukiko, but I forget. I'm pretty sure he's married. He's married to like a wonderful woman. They have 2 kids. He loves her a lot, but then he runs into this girl again that he was like in love with when he was a little kid. And oh gosh, it's really heartbreaking because it's like it's so hard. Like I don't know. I feel bad for him because you think that your life is so great and wonderful, and then like you realize that there's this thing that you've been missing, and I don't know. It was very like morally, it was very difficult because like what do you do in that situation? I thought it was such a good book. There's also like a lot of really interesting talk about capitalism and how like people let their money make money and how it's not really right. And I really enjoyed that too. It definitely has like a lot of like weird sex things, I'm pretty sure, and like breast talk. So surprise, surprise. But yeah, I thought it was really, really good. I gave this a 3 or a 4. I forget. I think a 4. I think it was like just under a 4 for me, and I gave it a 4. But yeah, really liked that. The next book that I picked up was Second Chance by James Patterson, and I DNF'd the crap out of this, and I'm not going to finish the series. Holy cow, I am so upset right now. Well, I was more upset while I was reading it. So the first book I thought was phenomenal. The whole story was so good. The main reason the only thing that I didn't like about the first book was the fact that he kept like the friendship. Oh god, it's a friendship before these. It's like 4 women. There's a DA, a police investigator, like a homicide detective, the ME, the medical examiner, and then a crime reporter. So it's like the 4 of these women, and they're like best friends, and they're fighting crime, and they're figuring things out. Woo! But they like meet in the first book, and it's horrible, and I hate their relationship. I think it's so forced and fake. And then in this one, I was like, oh, like now at least they're friends, and I don't have to deal with that anymore. But no, I have to deal with it even worse because he talks about like he says my closest friend 2 times in 1 paragraph. Like my closest friend. Oh, they know just what I need. Oh, margarita. Like no, what the are you talking about, Patterson? I think the problem is that he doesn't know how to He doesn't know how to write from a woman's perspective. It's so uncomfortable and forced, and I feel like the female characters are so bland. They have no. It's just like what a guy thinks that women act like, and it really pisses me off. And then also, it was really uncomfortable because the crime it's like racial, I guess. So the crime, the first thing that happens is that there's like a church shooting, and it's a black church, and there's a pastor and like all these little kids, and one 11-year-old girl gets killed, and like right away they're like, oh, it's a race crime, da da da, whatever, and it's like, I mean, it could be, but it could also not be. Like, isn't that kind of assuming some things? And it's like, And then there's another murder, and they're like, oh, we think they're related. And then the guy's like, oh, but it can't be because she had like the other woman who died, she was lynched. She had skin underneath her fingernails, and so they're like, oh, she fought back a little bit, but it was like it was non-Caucasian, so like it can't be related because it's obviously like a racially motivated hate crime. And it's like, again, I don't know, it just felt like so stupid, like he was trying to do something, and it just like, so I DNF'd the series. I'm glad at least I'm taking stuff off of my TBR pile. I am probably going to try to read something else by Patterson in the future. I feel like he wrote some things like Kiss the Girls maybe, or some other stuff, because I like his like story, like, I don't know, he seems like, it's just it's the women thing. I can't deal with it. And this whole, not worth it. So then the next thing that I read was Bird Box by Josh Malerman, which is my BookTube Recommends book for the month that Paul from A Common Touch of Fantasy recommended me. And oh my god, this was so good. This was so, so good. 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely loved this. In case you don't know what it's about, it's basically like a post-apocalyptic kind of story where the reason that the majority of humanity is gone is because there's like these creatures that have started to exist, and when you look at them you go crazy and like kill yourself, and then sometimes you kill the people that are around you too. It depends like how quickly you kill yourself, I think. And so, yeah, it is so good. There's 2 timelines. There's one timeline of this woman named Mallory and her 2 children, and she's kind of like trying to figure things out with them, and this is 5 years after everything has happened. The other timeline is right when she gets pregnant, which is when things are starting to happen. And oh my gosh, it's so good. The timeline where she's like pregnant and trying to figure stuff out, she's with like in a safe house, I guess. She's with like these other people, but in the future, I'm like, I get goosebumps every time I talk about it. She's in the timeline where she's with her children 5 years in the future. She's not with them, so like the whole time I was like, I can't, like, I need to know what happens. So like it builds so perfectly. The writing is it kind of reminds me of Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. The writing is like very like staccato. There's not like a lot of prose, basically. It's just like short sentences, like getting straight to the point. The closer and closer you get to the climax point, the shorter and shorter the sentences are, and it's so creepy, it's so atmospheric, it's so good. I cried. So basically everything that I want in a horror. I think this is literally the creepiest book that I've ever read. Like, it's the scariest book that I've ever read. He does a really good job. I'm talking super fast right now. He does a really good job of describing everything because you can't see anything. So when he describes what they do to not see, like, you feel like you're blind also. Like, you have no idea what's going on because you can't see. It's just really good. I really recommend it. Not to overhype it, but thank you, Paul. I loved the crap out of this book. The next book that I picked up, I did not finish. It's The Chronology of Water by Lydia Yuknavitch. It's a memoir, and oof, this is so good too. I got to page 106, and this is just so beautiful. It's super, super sad. It opens with her giving birth to a stillborn baby. She talks a lot about her abusive father. She had like so much shit has happened to this woman. I think it's very, very well written. It's beautiful. I might start crying thinking about it. I really, really recommend this. I know it's kind of like presumptuous to recommend a book when you're only a third of the way through, but it is really good if you want like a sad memoir type story. I really, really recommend this. And then the other book that I finished today, but I did not finish in time for the readathon, was It's Kind of a Funny Story by Ned Vizzini. I also really, really liked this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I'm super impressed. I almost DNF'd it. The first page, I almost DNF'd after the first page because I'm going to read to you the beginning. This is like some dialogue. Have you ever noticed how on all the ads on TV, people are watching TV? My friend is like, pass it, son. And my other friend is like, no, yo, that's true. My other friend is like, I hated that. I hated that so much. But it got really good. So thankfully, all of his friends, like, the beginning is kind of like him and his friends, and then it gets more into his head, and then he goes to the mental institute, the psychiatric hospital, whatever you want to call it. And so thankfully I don't have to deal with that language as much. They're like pothead little kids. I will say I'm very upset because they're going from 8th grade to high school, and like they're smoking pot and having sex, and it's like, maybe I'm just a big old prude, but so that was kind of upsetting to me. It was really good. I might just do a talk. I'm going to start doing talks about all my books again, so I'm going to talk about this more at another point because I have a lot to say about it, and it's already been over 10 minutes, and but yeah, this was a really, really good YA story. It was not too cheesy. Most of the time it wasn't cheesy. Towards the end it got a little cheesy for me. Like, oh, no. But it was really good in general. Sorry, that's kind of like a weird. Also, really sad. He killed himself in 2013. It's so sad. I'm going to talk about it in a book talk. But yeah, so for the books that I'm not including this book. So the other books for Genrethon, I read about 512 pages, which is like 64 pages a day, which is just like average. So I didn't really read any extra. So I'm a little disappointed that I didn't read more, but at least I read while my friends were in town. Phew, because I was worried that I wouldn't, or I like made up for it on other days when they weren't here. Anyways, it's way too hot. So let me know how you did. There's a lot of videos that I have not watched. I haven't watched any of the wrap-ups or anything because, again, I'm like behind a whole week and there's just so many videos. So let me know if you have posted a wrap-up so I can try to like watch that in time that makes sense to watch a wrap-up for a readathon that happens. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for watching.